Hi, you guys. Welcome in. How is everybody doing? I hope good. It's Monday, right? It is Monday, isn't it? No, it's Tuesday. See, I don't even know what dadgum day it is. Tuesday. It's Tuesday. It's already going to be one of those days for y'all, just so you know. So I'm glad to see everybody is in. Let me say hi to you guys because it's been a minute. First, let me say thank you, Kay Brace, for being a member for 5 months. Woohoo! Don't you ever change, please, and thank you. Well, thank you, Kay Brace. Salty C, member for 18 months. Thank you guys so much for your support. I appreciate it very, very much. Thank you. It means a lot to me. All right, let me see who we got in here. We got Music City Mom. We got Kay Brace. We got Abellis. We have Cement Shoes, Neat Noodle, who has a headache, so I will talk quiet. Petunia, hello. How's everybody doing, Blue? Hey, how's it going, Christine? Good to see you. Hey, Michelle, good to see you. Debbie, good to see you. Roro, Salty C, Con Artist, Hiller. Sherry, Tony, good to see you. Hey, if y'all see a million sparkles running around, tell her to come over this way. I would need to wish her a happy birthday. I wasn't live when it was her birthday. Alaskan Amber, Anaphylaxis, Pointer Lover, good to see you. Wait, is it Pointer? Who had the headache? Neat Noodle or Pointer Lover? Well, whatever. Whoever had the headache, I'm going to talk quiet. Hey, Teacup Kraken, good to see you. Hey, Becky P. Another Amy. Good to see you, B Crumbs. Kathy. I think I'm getting everybody. I feel like I am. Did I say hi, Debbie? Hi, Debbie. I can't remember. Oh, where's Alex? There's Allie. Hey, Allie. There's my friend. Hey, preschool granny. Blue. All y'all. Amanda Love. I think I got everybody. I think I did. Oh, Lil Ren. Hey. All right. I think I got everybody. Hey, Kimberly. If I missed you, it was not intentional. Hello, hello, hello. And welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm glad to have you guys tonight. We're going to be discussing You're Not Late at All, Scott. I just started. Hey, Mayla's mom. Hey, Natasha. Hey, Nurse Kristen. All right, I think I got everybody. I hope so. All right, I just started. All right, so tonight's case is a little bit difficult. It's kind of it's a toughie. It's a sad one. It takes place in Pasco County, which is like north of Tampa. Okay, it's still an hour east of me. I had to think about it because I was asking my husband how far Hudson is from us, and he's like, it's an hour that way, and he just pointed. So I'm thinking, and I know that we're on the water, so you can't go more west than where we're at, or you'll be in the water. So I know it's not west, so it has to be east. Hey, I'm Kaylin. Good to see you. Almost, what is this doing? Hey, good to see you, Kaylin. I feel like I missed somebody else, and Punksy and Natasha. Hello, hello, hello. All right, so that's where this happened. And it originally started out as a missing persons case, and it got quite convoluted. So the first thing I'm going to do is the way I wanted to do this is I'm going to play the press conference from the Pasco County Sheriff's Office YouTube channel. Okay. But in between the sheriff talking about this case, I'm gonna read to you guys from the probable cause affidavit. And this is something that's developing at this point. A suspect has been arrested. He's 25, I think. He's, not that old. Hold on, let me scroll up and look. I think that's how old he is. He's 25. And I looked, and he doesn't really have a record. There are 6 cases, including this one against him, and they're traffic violations and then 1 misdemeanor assault. And they're kind of far back. So Natasha, so when I was born in Arizona and I lived there until I was 10, and then the rest of my life I lived in the South. So I was born in Arizona, but I grew up in the South. So, and I've spent more time in the South than anywhere else. So I feel like by that I'm a Southerner. Charmed, I'm sure. So yeah. So this one is kind of difficult, but I'm going to play you guys this press conference, like I said, and then I'm going to intersperse it with actual, like the case documents, because it's a little bit confusing and kind of, how do I say this? There's a lot of layers to it or whatever, and so it's a little bit confusing, and I started to try to make like a timeline, like a visual timeline, but I figured this way would be so much easier than that way. So, all right. Are y'all ready? Okay, here we go. Let's play it. I already forgot what I'm doing. Okay.
Everybody good?
Let me put the closed captions on for you guys
Good
too.
afternoon. So I want to start with prayers and praying for the family. I know a lot of times people say, "Oh, you always say about praying." Well, if there wasn't evil in this world, we wouldn't have to pray as much. And when I talk about this story today, you're going to hear about evil. You're going to hear of a complex investigation, and you're going to hear about an investigation that's still ongoing. So unfortunately, there's a lot of things we won't be able to answer. But I can tell you, it is a difficult case, and this will be an ongoing case. And there's a lot of things that we still have to run down, and a lot of things that we still have to solve. So, I'll talk about Philip Zilliot, 25 years of age, Rain Mancini, 26 years of age, and their two children, Philip Zilliot, the third, who's 5 years old, and Karma Zilliot, who's 6 years old. And for them and their families, we ask for tons of prayers because this is an extremely difficult time for all of them. The preliminary investigation and said it's a complex, and this is still a missing persons case until the final resolution, until the ME comes back.
Okay. So this news conference is from 3 days ago. Okay. It's obviously right there. You guys can see it's from June 15th. And on Saturday, what had happened is they had found human remains. Okay. And what has complicated this process is that when human remains are burned, the process of burning changes and impacts it doesn't, I don't want to say changes the DNA, it degrades the DNA, and it makes it difficult to do DNA testing, which is why, obviously, if you're trying to get away with something, this is what you would do, right? So they're what they have to do is they have to send the remains off to the lab. They have to be identified. And once that happens, of course, there's going to be an autopsy performed. So what they'll do is they will separate and then try to match up the remains to four individual people. So it's two adults, one male, one female, two children, one male, one female children. Okay, child, one male child, one female child. Obviously, speaking is very difficult for me today, which is terrible since I'm going to be having to explain this case to you and read things to you. So bear with me. So at this point, the person who's charged has only been charged with one count of first-degree premeditated murder. As I think positive identification goes, and as they've been out to the house 4 times now, and taken away different various pieces of evidence and things like that. And then once they can get the remains separated and sorted. I hate talking about it like that because it sounds so clinical, but it really is. That is really what they have to do, kind of like what they had to do with Tylee. Once that happens, then they will, look over the remains and the bones, and they will try to determine a cause of death. So it's two kids, Rando, one little boy and one little girl, 5 and 6 years old. I'm going to, as he talks about it a little bit more, I'm still going to intervene or interject with the probable cause affidavit once he says some things that pertain to it, so it can better explain what he's saying here. Okay. All right. So let me continue to play this.
It's still a missing persons case, but we were able to find human remains at the crime scene, and we believe it may be this family. But at the same time, as I can't give a definitive until the ME gives us that final confirmation that it is. I want to thank the members of the Sheriff's Office. With me, numerous members, but I want to point out, which will be able to speak, is Sergeant Rosa for Major Crimes, uh, Deanna Huggins, sorry, apologize, Dina. She's the lead instructor for human remain dogs, and Indy was out there with her, and so they were critical into this investigation. And Austin Polonitsa, he does the anthropology and forensics piece for us, and they get called out. Those two get called out a lot to go to different organizations, and this is a case that we need them right here in our own neighborhood to help solve this case. We're working with the state attorney's office right now. Because of that partnership with the state attorney's office, we're able to charge Rory Atwood with first-degree homicide on John Doe. And it's on John Doe because we do not know exactly the human remains that we found. But because of the statements he made, because of the information we've gathered, he's being charged with first-degree homicide. I want to thank the information that has come in, and I'm going to get into it. It's pretty complex how this information came in, and the great job of our detectives and our deputies. Deputy Callahan, their team out there were nonstop with whatever nuggets we got. They kept going with it. The other part too is, we still need the public's assistance. Call us. Don't call a friend who calls a friend who calls a friend. And that's what I'm going to talk about. That's what hinders the investigation. What helps us is if you call us directly to get that information. So this started on Wednesday evening at approximately 11:30.
I'm going to rewind that a little bit because I think it's something good to remember. But before I do that, I want to say thank you so much, MK, for gifting 5 memberships. I appreciate that so much. If you guys got one, please thank MK. He is a scholar and a gentleman. Be nice to MK Lynn and thank him because he's super, super generous always. Okay. I want to rewind that just 5 seconds because I want you guys to hear this part because this part is important and I think it bears repeating. So here we go.
Whatever nuggets we got, they kept going with it. The other part too is, we still need the public's assistance. Call us. Don't call a friend who calls a friend who calls a friend. And that's what I'm going to talk about. That's what hinders the investigation. What helps us is if you call us directly to get that information.
So please, anybody that knows any information about a crime, call law enforcement directly. Please don't call a Google tip line, a YouTube creator. Call the law enforcement. They're the people that need the information. They're the people that can vet it. They're excuse me. Hold on, I'm about to choke. They're the people in the position to do something with the information. So, all right. So now I'm going to switch over just briefly to reading what took place on June 14th. Okay. So that you guys can, I can kind of tell you what this guy is saying here. This is not going to work for me. Hold on a minute. I have to fix this. I want to show you guys this affidavit, but there are parts of the affidavit that I don't think are a good idea to show because it's not redacted in the way that I would like it to be redacted. To be quite frank, I just feel like there are some names and stuff in here that I would much rather have that would much rather than be redacted. But here we go. So on June 13th, 2024, at approximately 14:22 hours, which is 12:22 p.m. or 2:22 p.m. Excuse me, Pasco County Sheriff's Office received a welfare check for Ray Mancini, Philip Zilliott III, and Karma Zilliott, the latter two being juveniles. The caller advised her brother received a call from the defendant, Rory Atwood, who requested help burning trash. The brother stated he observed a puddle of blood and could see adult and child bodies over the video call. Deputies arrived on scene and spoke with the defendant, who denied any knowledge of Ray Mancini, Philip Zilliott, Philip Zilliot III, or Karma Zilliot's deaths. The defendants stated Rain Mancini, Philip Zilliot III, and Karma Zilliot had walked away from the property on the evening of June 12, 2024. Deputies conducted a consensual search of the residence and part of the yard and did not locate anything suspicious at the time. While conducting their search of the property, deputies observed a fire pit in the backyard of the property, which was actively smoldering and smoking. So basically, this is how it happened. A woman called to relay that her brother told her that the defendant, Rory, called and said that he needed help burning trash, and it was a video call, and the person on the other end could see bodies and blood. And so they that's what they, but what I found interesting about this is, of course, the cops are going to respond immediately, and they did, and they showed up out there, and nothing was out of order. So it's interesting to me. And let me see, because, okay, let's see. They got the call at 14:22. So let me see when they actually went out there. See if I can find that. Let me see. Oh, so this is on 6:15. So it's not going to be helpful. Dadgummit. I'm curious what time they got out there on the 12th, because that's interesting. So then they don't see anything. They don't have I'm done with you, NK Lynn, already. I can't even highlight that because I'm supposed to be being good on the channel because YouTube is cracking down on the foul mouth. So then 2 days pass, okay, and they go back out to the house, and this is what happens. All right. On June 14th, 2024, at approximately 12:49 hours, the Pasco County Sheriff's Office received a call for service from this guy named Brian. Brian advised that the defendant admitted to killing his roommates and their children. All right. So then on June 14th, at approximately 15:25 hours, a deputy initiated a follow-up investigation call for service back at the listed location. Upon arrival, Deputy Chandler made contact with the defendant, who again advised that Ray Mancini, Philip Zilliot III, and Karma Zilliot still had not returned back to the residence. The defendant advised Deputy Chandler that he kicked out Ray Mancini, Philip III, and Karma 2 weeks ago from the residence. The defendant advised that Rain, Philip III, and Karma had all taken their belongings with them when they left. Deputies again conducted a consensual search of the residence, and Deputy Chandler observed items belonging to Rain, Philip III, and Karma inside the residence. Deputy Chandler asked the defendant about the items, and the defendant stated the victims did not have time to take the items with them. On June 14, 2024, your affiant responded to the aforementioned address and observed portions of the property. Your affiant discovered there was a fire pit in the rear yard of the property, which consisted of various unburned items on the top and ash and various burned debris at the base of the fire pit. Y'all, this is going to be tough. I'm not even going to lie. And I can't see you guys because I'm on a whole other page. Let me check on you and make sure you're behaving. Are y'all behaving? Let me see. All right. It looks like you guys are all behaving. All right. Here we go. The fire pit. Your affiant observed apparent steel threads from the inner portion of vehicle tires, which indicated an intense heat during a prior fire. Your affiant estimated the fire pit was approximately 10 feet in diameter. During the investigation, your affiant observed a Pasco Sheriff's Office cadaver dog, Indy, remove an item from the aforementioned fire pit. Your affiant observed Dina, senior training analyst for First and Indy's handler, remove the item from the dog's mouth. Your affiant viewed the item, which appeared to be small skeletal remains. Your affiant learned forensic science administrator with First, Austin, responded to the scene, and he located apparent human long bone fragments on the surface of the burn pit. Austin informed your affiant he had also found 2 apparent human vertebrae, all of which had apparent thermal damage to them. Austin informed your affiant he observed the item that Indy, cadaver dog, pulled from the fire pit and was able to identify the item as a human skeletal remains containing soft tissue. Oh, speaking of, let me just stop right there. So you notice how they're speaking of one, like a long bone, but they continue to refer it to as human remains. Many of you may know already that during some construction in Memphis, at St. Jude, a human bone was found, and there was an article about it. And the article continued to refer to the bone, even though the bone is singular, as human remains, right? And so people were curious about why they would refer to it that way. The answer is very simple. Human remains is grammatically correct with the S. You don't say human remain. It's just grammar. That is all. Let me also say this, because I need to be very clear. They found a bone. The place where they are doing the construction on St. Jude's at one point was a burial ground in the 1800s. And they can try as much as obviously it was someplace where they moved, but sometimes things get lost in the shuffle, as it were. And so it's likely that's what it is. It has nothing to do with the missing Sebastian Rogers. It's highly unlikely, but there was a lot of kerfuffle made about the term human remains, as if that implied that there was something more than a singular bone that was found. And I just wanted to point out that remains is grammatically correct, and that is why the article was written using the term remains. It's highly doubtful that this, like I said, that has anything to do with Sebastian or anybody from anything really recent. Okay, that's all I wanted to say. Okay. Your affiant then spoke with STA Huggins, who stated Indy showed a change of behavior on the front porch of the aforementioned property, and Huggins could smell the strong odor of possibly chlorine around the front porch. Okay, now this is where I have some questions. Okay, so what I'm wondering is, they came out 2 days prior on the 12th of June. And they conducted a consensual search around the property, and nobody smelled bleach, or at least if they did, they didn't notice anything out of place. They did see the fire pit, and it was smoldering and smoking and whatever, but whatever else was being burned in that fire pit had to be enough that it would mask the odors of the odor of a burning body. I mean, because that is, it's That's a lot. And excuse me. Thank you, Edith, for becoming a member. I appreciate it. Thank you for your support. So I'm a little I'm kind of confused, but hopefully we'll get some more answers about that. All right. STA Hudgens informed your affiant during the search of the front porch area, Indy barked several times sporadically. STA I don't know if it's Hudgens or Hudgens is probably how you say it, informed your affiant that Indy's final response for a positive hit is a continuous bark. So her training led her to believe that Indy either smelled a diluted odor or couldn't pinpoint the exact location of human remains, which I think is another thing that needs to be pointed out, because we have been talking a lot recently, many current cases where dogs have been brought in. Dogs do different dogs doing different things, right? There's cadaver dogs, and then there's tracking dogs. They brought out a cadaver dog, and they all have they all have been trained, and that when they indicate something, there's a specific, like for Indy barks consistently, right? And that is Indy's way of saying something is here. And the fact that the dog didn't do that means that it wasn't she barked several times sporadically, and so it wasn't a continuous bark, meaning that it wasn't a complete hit, but it wasn't nothing. There was something there at some point, and it was probably a diluted odor. So I think when we're listening, that's why I like going over probable cause affidavits and stuff like that, because I think that it's really important to know and understand what these dogs do and what their roles are. And again, they're only as good as their handler. But okay, KD, I will tell you. She said that the house smelled like a fire. It didn't have a bad odor. The neighbors said that it smelled like a barbecue. I can't imagine that. But yeah, that's what they said. Okay. Your affiant spoke with a detective who responded to an address at around 10 p.m. to speak with a person. I'm leaving these people's names out because while they are part of the public record, they didn't ask for this. They didn't, so I'm going to give them their anonymity. But anyway, Detective Brandt learned that this person had been friends with the defendant along with Brian, who was the original caller, and Philip since high school, which is the victim. This person said he received a FaceTime call on June 13th at around 2 a.m. from the defendant's cell phone. This person said that during the phone call, the defendant was asking for his help repeatedly and said he, quote, killed them. This person advised the defendant specifically said Rain and PJ, who he knew to be a male named Philip, had an argument on the porch and he killed them. Detective Brandt advised your affiant he re-interviewed a female on June 15th at approximately 4 a.m. This female said that while visiting on the evening of June 12th, 2024, Rain was sitting on a yellow or beige couch in the living room. Philip was pacing back and forth, and the defendant was sitting in a rolling chair in the living room. This person also said she knows the defendant has firearms and has seen them personally. This person stated he stores some of his firearms on beams or trusses above the window by the front door inside the residence. Detective Brandt said he watched Deputy Chandler's body-worn camera footage from June 14, 2024, while he was inside the defendant's house and noticed there was no longer a couch inside the living room as described by this person. Your affiant spoke with Detective Randall Jones, who came to the residence and met with Detective Jones stated the defendant advised that he had evicted Rain, Phillip, and their 2 kids on June 1st, 2024 for failure to pay rent. The defendant said he then saw them on the evening of June 12th, 2024 when they came by unexpectedly and stayed for a few hours. The defendant claimed that Rain and Phillip then gathered their belongings and walked away from the property. The defendant said that Ray Mancini told him she was going to stay at the women's shelter with the kids, and Phillip advised he was going to stay in a tent at a nearby park. The defendant claimed to have no contact with Rain, Phillip, or the 2 children since June 12, 2024. The defendant told Detective Jones that he has a T-Mobile cell phone plan with at least 4 phones on his plan. Detective Jones said that during his interview, defendant said that the sheriff's office might find horse bones on the property, and he also inquired about how fast human flesh would decompose. Suggested bodies wouldn't decompose in a day. Okay, so now I want to play a little bit more of this press conference because there are some details in this press conference that didn't come out, obviously, in the probable cause affidavit. So here we go. I want you guys to hear this. All right.
So this started on Wednesday evening at approximately 11:30 p.m. Rain Mancini, her friend picked her up at Rain's mother's house, drove her to Rory's house, which is on Nottingham Trail in Hudson. This was the last time that Rain saw her mother and the mother saw her, which was unusual, as we'll find out later on in the investigation. Rain's friend, Rain, Phillip, and Rory were all at the house together with Rain and Phillip's 2 children, who I mentioned, and Rory's daughter, who is a juvenile as well, were all at the house while the adults were drinking. Phillip and her son, Phillip Zilliot, and this is around midnight on Thursday, and her son, Phillip's mother, and her son, Phillip, spoke on the phone, and that was the last time they spoke on the phone. Per Rain's friend, Rain, Phillip, and Rory were all drinking alcohol, and they started arguing. Before leaving, Rain's friend hears someone say, "This is the last time this happened. You pulled a gun on us," referring to Rory. We do not have any police reports about that. A friend of Rory, this is around 2 o'clock in the morning, got a call from Rory, who was really upset and said he shot somebody and was frantic. That friend, then calls another friend who calls another friend, and we think possibly a 4th friend. None of the information came to us for another 12 hours. The sheriff's office didn't get any of that information, and it would have been very helpful for the investigation had we received it. Rory, this is about 3 a.m. in the morning. Rory Atwood then calls his baby's mother and says, "Hey, I want to drop off our daughter." And that doesn't happen until about 5:45 in the morning. He drops her off. This is about Thursday at approximately 2 in the afternoon. This is the first time that we, the Pasco Sheriff's Office, get information. We received 3rd and possibly 4th party information that the suspect may have killed somebody. That's what I go back to. It was a person after a person after a person. This is when we begin our investigation efforts, trying to track back the real source of the information. We went around the property. The suspect gave us permission to walk around. Unfortunately, we did not find anything that was suspicious at the time. On Friday, we were able to make contact with Rain and Phyllis' family. So it wasn't until yesterday afternoon that we were able to make contact with the family, and they said they had not heard from them. It was unusual in the fact that they hadn't heard from them, and wasn't unusual in the fact that this family is a little transient, and they go from place to place. So around 4:30 in the afternoon, our deputies observed Rory Atwood We see him out there. He gives us permission to go back on their property, which we start doing a more extensive search. We had the human remain dogs, bloodhounds, aviation, deputies. Because of the search, we were able to find human remains. This, along with several admissions, is what led to Rory Atwood being charged with first-degree homicide. As I go back to it, it's an ongoing investigation. Apologize. Our job is to work.
Okay. So yeah, now we're getting at how there's like, third, fourth hand information. They all live together, sort of. But it kind of appears that just from we'll read about it more, but just from the probable cause affidavit, the family wasn't actually living with Rory for that long. I mean, we're talking about at some point in May, right? And then he's ready for them he's ready to get him out the 1st of June when they don't have rent. So they're, okay, so let's go back to they weren't there for very long. Okay. Okay. Now this part broke my heart. Detective Jones said he learned the defendant has a daughter. Detective Jones said he spoke with the defendant's the mother of the defendant's child, who said the defendant picked up the child from her on the night of June 12, 2024, between 8 p.m. and 9 p.m., and he was supposed to keep her for several days. The mother said she missed 2 calls from the defendant on June 13th at 2:54 a.m., but then answered another phone call from him at 2:57. The mother stated that the defendant was panicked and said there had been some sort of altercation, and he had to bring their daughter back home to her. The mother stated that the defendant arrived at her residence with their daughter between 5:30 a.m. and 5:45 a.m. and dropped her off, and he was driving a blue BMW sedan. The mother said that the defendant was only wearing a baseball cap, possibly green, and red shorts with white trim, and he was not acting himself. Detective Jones told your affiant he then responded to the mother's residence and met with the daughter on June 15th at 12:27 a.m. Detective Jones relayed that the daughter immediately told him that Rain Mancini was arguing while she was at her dad's house, and Philip Zilliot and their children were at the residence. Now, I'm going to say this. This is what is sad to me, is that these are all young kids. They're 3 young children, were 4, 5, and 6, and they were all there, and they all saw this. Obviously, Rory's child survived. Nothing physical was done to her, but she is a witness, and I have a feeling that she said a whole lot more than that to the detectives, but it's not going to be in the probable cause affidavit, and it shouldn't be. But can you imagine being that little girl and witnessing? Because there were several hours between the time that Rory called his daughter's mother and when he actually brought her to her, brought his daughter to her mother's house. There were, he called it 2:57 that she answered, and he got there between 5:30 and 5:45. And let me see this. And they're in the same town. So it's not like it's a far drive. So there were 3 hours? We'll let me just round up. So we'll say it was 3 o'clock in the morning when they probably, because it started at 2:57 a.m., probably finished at 3 o'clock in the morning, and 2 hours and 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes later, That's, I don't know what he was doing in all that time, but it makes me sad. Okay. So then on 6/15/24, your affiant conducted a non-custodial interview with the defendant, who stated on Wednesday 6/12/24, Philip II, Rain, Philip III, and Karma traveled to his residence located at the home in Hudson. The defendant informed your affiant that the aforementioned family was provided transportation by their cousin. The defendant informed your affiant the cousin remained outside the residence and soon left the property. However, Philip II, Rain, Philip III, and Karma entered the residence. The defendant informed your affiant that Philip II, Rain, Philip III, and Karma were previously residing in the residence from an unspecified date in May of 2024 until June 1st of 2024, when he told them to leave due to lack of rent payment. The defendant informed your affiant an argument occurred between Philip II, Rain, and he, the defendant, decided to leave the property with his juvenile daughter. So it took me a minute to understand this. There was an argument and Rory left with his daughter. That I had to read this a couple of times because the way it's written, it kind of made it difficult. So then the defendant informed your affiant while traveling in his vehicle down the driveway on 6/12/24 at approximately 11 p.m. to midnight, he observed Philip II, Rain, Philip III, and Karma walking down the same driveway toward Nottingham Trail. The defendant informed your affiant this was the last time he observed the family, and he denied knowledge of their current location. The defendant denied killing the family or burning their bodies. The defendant informed your affiant he has been living at the aforementioned residence for the majority of his life, and there are currently no other residents at the location except for him. The defendant informed your affiant that there have been no visitors to his property since late Wednesday night after the family were observed walking down the driveway. The defendant informed your affiant only Philip II and himself burn items in the fire pit located on the property. On 6/15/24, your affiant conducted a custodial post-Miranda interview with the defendant, who initially denied involvement in the family's deaths or knowledge of their current location. The defendant eventually admitted the bodies of Philip II, Rain, Philip III, and Karma were all currently located in the fire pit on his property, and their bodies were burned. The defendant stated on Wednesday 6/12 or Thursday 6/13 he was inside his bedroom when Philip II and Rain entered his bedroom. The defendant informed your affiant that Philip possessed an unknown type of knife, and the two engaged in a fight. The defendant informed your affiant he disarmed Philip, and the knife dropped to the floor. Now, y'all, let's just take a moment, because this is going to be the most nonsensical story ever. Just so you know, it's very convoluted. It makes no sense, and it's hard to follow and hard to read. So maybe we'll break it up into sections. Okay. The defendant informed your affiant he disarmed Philip, and the knife dropped to the floor. The defendant informed your affiant that Philip punched with a closed fist the left side of his head. However, he did not sustain any injuries. The defendant informed your affiant during this physical attack by Philip, he observed Rain on the bed within the same bedroom, and she also possessed a knife, which she was using to poke the defendant's juvenile daughter in the throat. The defendant informed your affiant he dove onto the bed and forced Rain onto the floor, and she dropped the knife. The defendant informed your affiant he threw the knife out the bedroom window. Then he heard a noise, which he discovered was a handgun, which Philip dropped onto the bedroom floor. The defendant informed your affiant that Philip retrieved the gun. However, he was able to disarm Philip and he tossed the gun out of the bedroom. Now, are y'all getting this? Philip, according to Rory, Philip had a knife and they were fighting, and Rory was able to disarm Philip and throw the knife out the window. And then they began fighting just with fists, and Philip hit Rory twice in the head. Mind you, y'all, Rory has no marks on him. He's not bruised, no scratches, nothing. Simultaneously, according to Rory, Rain is poking his daughter in the throat with a knife. He tackles her, gets her onto the floor, disarms her, chunks the knife, and then hears a handgun fall out of Philip's pocket. Okay? This makes no damn sense. None. All right. Okay. The defendant informed your affiant that Philip retrieved the gun. However, he was able to disarm Philip and he tossed the gun out of the bedroom. So basically, knives and guns are going all over the place. Out the window, out of the bedroom. This makes no sense. The defendant informed your affiant he exited the bedroom, and both Rain and Philip followed him into the living room, specifically near the front door. The defendant informed your affiant he tried to obtain the knife, which he previously threw out of the bedroom with his feet, while keeping his hands and body ready for another potential attack from Philip. The defendant informed your affiant that Philip obtained the handgun from the living room floor, and both parties began struggling over the firearm. The defendant informed your affiant that Rain was engaging in the fight, and while the two males were struggling over the firearm, Rain sustained multiple gunshot wounds to her torso and head. The defendant informed your affiant he was able to redirect the firearm back toward Philip, and he pulled the trigger, which resulted in Philip sustaining 2 gunshot wounds to his head. The defendant informed your affiant that Philip fell backward and made contact with the couch, which resulted in blood transfer on the couch. The defendant informed your affiant both Rain and Philip died in the living room area of his residence. The defendant informed your affiant after the shooting in the living room, he discovered there was a fire in the fire pit on the property, which Philip and Rain must have created. During the aforementioned statement by the defendant, he did not disclose what happened to the children. During further questioning, the defendant informed your affiant he suspected Philip and Rain had killed their 2 children, Philip III and Karma. However, he could not provide a cause of death. The defendant informed your affiant he witnessed Philip II punching Philip III with a closed fist in the kitchen area of the residence prior to the aforementioned altercation in his bedroom. The defendant informed your affiant that Karma was also in the kitchen area, and Philip II, and Karma Ziliat entered their bedroom. The defendant informed your affiant after the two juveniles entered their bedroom, he proceeded to the master bedroom and he did not see the children again. The defendant informed your affiant he used adrenaline to drag Rain and Philip from the living room out the front door and to the fire pit located on the property. The defendant stated he placed Philip and Rain into the fire, which was already ignited, without sustaining any injuries to his own body. The defendant informed your affiant he discarded the couch from his living room into the fire because of the blood evidence. The defendant informed your affiant he didn't remember cleaning the interior of the residence, but if he did clean, then he would have disposed of the towels and or cleaning items into the fire. The defendant advised your affiant that he threw the firearm used to kill Rain and Philip in the middle of the fire pit and it was burned. The defendant was photographed and he lacked any significant injuries to include but not limited to injuries from a burn or physical altercation. The defendant informed your affiant he had an active cellular phone and acknowledged he never dialed 911 to report the alleged child abuse, shooting, or location of all four decedents. Based on the investigation, the defendant perpetrated with a premeditated design the death of at least Philip Zealot II and or Ray Mancini. The defendant then cleaned the crime scene and discarded the evidence and both victims into a fire pit located on the defendant's property. The defendant burned the two victims and evidence within the fire pit and repeatedly lied to patrol deputies and detectives during the initial investigation into the disappearance of Philip Ziliot II, Rain Mancini, Philip Ziliot III, and Karma Ziliot. During a post-Miranda interview, the defendant admitted to involvement in the death of both adult victims, and he admitted to knowledge both juveniles were also burned in the same fire pit. And that's all he will admit to. So it's a very, very sad case. It's still ongoing. They're, like I said, they had been out there over the weekend. They were out there Saturday. They were out there Sunday, and they were out there Monday. And so it is a horrible story. It's a horrible crime. And I don't understand what happened. I don't understand what happened here. Like, I mean, what caused this? Because I mean, I know that there was drinking, although that was left out of the probable cause affidavit. The sheriff mentioned it in the press conference. So they were all, drinking and whatnot. But I just, I don't understand how it escalated to that point and why the children were killed and what Rory's daughter witnessed. Bless his heart. It's just sad. The whole thing is sad, but I'm going to keep watching this. And I just want you guys to know that I am a Pasco County resident. Barely. I'm right on the border of Pasco and Pinellas, but I'm on the Pasco side. I am also a registered voter, which means that I could be called for jury duty. Now, I'm just saying, it's not really a case I'd want to be called on, but obviously, I think I would be disqualified because of my YouTube channel and the fact that I actually talked about this case, so I know some of the details. But yeah, so that's kind of all that I wanted to talk. That's all I know about this today. I could have gone through their Facebooks and stuff like that. I just, oh, wow. Tink My Bell 2.0. I live in Hudson, not too far from where it happened. And a good friend of mine was best friends with the mama. And this is horrible what happened. It is horrible what happened. They all knew each other. Like Rory and Philip knew each other since high school. It's terrible. It's just absolutely horrible. And it just seems like it escalated and came out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like, it just escalated to such a level. Like, they were drinking, and then there's an argument that can be overheard over the phone call, something to the effect of, "You've already pulled a gun on us once before." And I'm sorry, but Rory's story makes no sense. None at all. None. I don't know, Robert. That's the thing. It doesn't sound like it. And when I went and I looked, because when you go to the Pasco County clerks to search for the case, it'll come up, you'll have to search, obviously, Rory Atwood, right? there's a couple, but there's only one, Rory, that has this, that has the homicide attached. So that's how you know the other 5 cases are his. You have the right person. But his other like stuff doesn't have anything to do with anything. I mean, he's got a simple assault that could be anything. He doesn't have any drugs or anything. All he has is like careless driving. Hold on, I'll tell you what it is. Give me a second. I'll tell you what he's got. Let me pull it up really quick. I won't show it, but I'll tell you guys. There's no real reason to show it because they're like old and you can't really find a whole lot. There's nothing to click, so I can't like open it up and find anything. I mean, I'm sure if I requested it, I could find it, but I don't think it has any real bearing on this, so I'm just not inclined to do that. Okay, so in 2016, he had a traffic infraction. 2017, another traffic infraction. 2018, another traffic infraction. And another one. That's it. Hold on. There's more than this. I know that that's not right. Hold on. Because there's 6. Hold on. Here it is. Yeah. Traffic in 2016 and 2018, a couple. 1 in 20, a misdemeanor. That's the simple assault that he got, and he got a year. It's battery, touch, or strike. 1B. It's a misdemeanor, and he got a year of probation. And then another traffic infraction, careless driving. Oh, here we go. So here's what it was. So in 2016, he got flee, elude, or police fail to obey LEO order to stop. In 2018, it was driving while license is suspended, canceled, revoked, this first conviction. Then another one is driver's license not carried, exhibited on demand. And then the next one is the battery, touch, or strike, which is a misdemeanor, and he got probation for that for a year. And then another traffic infraction on 7/7/23, careless driving. Only in Florida could you get a freaking careless driving charge, like that title, nor, like not reckless, careless. I mean, I don't understand why the kids, I don't understand any of this stuff. Yeah, well, hold on. Let me see where Spring Hill is from me. Let me hit up the Googles. Help if I spelt it correctly. There we go. Yeah, I'm like 45 minutes away from Spring Hill. Not that much, but 45 minutes in Florida is 5 ever if you go at the wrong time. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, Pasco, he's in Lakeland is the jail that he's in right now. That's where he's being held. He is not married. He's 25, Kathy. He's currently not married. The baby mama was interviewed, and she's mentioned briefly in the probable cause affidavit. He called her on the let me scroll up. He called her on June 13th, twice, at about 2:54 a.m. And then the third phone call, he called her at 2:57 a.m. and he answered that, and he said he needed to bring their daughter back. And she said, what are you going to say? No. I mean, so of course she said yes. Is that what did I say? Did I say Land of Lake? Lakeland is what I said. Land of Lakes. That's what it is. I'm sorry. Land of Lakes. That's where he's at. Not Lakeland. So she's like, yeah, bring our kid back. And he gets there between 5:30 and 5:45 that morning of the 13th. And I'm sure that there's more to that interview, but that's just what's in the probable cause affidavit. So, yeah. I try to remember Land Lakes like butter. Oh, Abellis, thank you so much. I appreciate that so much. Yes, Solo Sock, that's where they were. That dirt road, because it's, like a private road, and all the way down, like way far back is where the crime scene was at. And this is like, he said he's lived there most of his life. So I'm guessing this was like family property that got handed down, I guess. So, well, listen, Tink My Bell 2.2. If any of the people that know the family, the victims, that would like to speak, my email is in my about section, and I will put it in here for you. And they are more than welcome to email me. And if they want me to say anything or not saying, if there's something they want the public to know, but they don't want me to like tell like how they're related or whatever, I would be more than happy to do that. I can keep them anonymous. Here is my email, because I am really interested to know about the victims. We're going to hear a lot about the defendant because, he's been charged. He's likely going to be charged, with the rest of their murders. But we hardly ever get to know anything about the victims. And the only time we ever, there's times you do get to hear about the victims during the trial, but it's usually during the victim impact statements or the very beginning of a trial. And I would like to know who this family was. And, I haven't looked into the victims like that, Roberta. I haven't, because they're the victims. So I'm not sure. And honestly, I don't know. I don't know if I feel like that even really matters. It does seem though that they were somewhat down on their luck and sort of living in between places with no real permanent stable residence. And that makes me sad for them and for the kids. But, yeah, not like, you don't have to act like the offer is on the table. Do you know what I'm saying? It doesn't need to be now or tomorrow or anytime soon, just whenever, if he or she is ever ready, if they are ever ready. It's more that I would actually want to know about the victims, nothing salacious, but just, who they are as people, because I think that's important. So anyway, it just breaks my heart for the kids, but anyway, you guys, that's really all I had. I'm going to keep watching this. The other thing that I'm working on is I don't know if you guys have had a chance to see is it, oh God, now I feel like I'm not going to remember the name. Eric on Netflix. It is really, really good. But it even though it isn't based on an actual true story, a singular true life event, it does remind me of the Eaton Pats abduction that happened in New York in 79, I think it was. And so I wanted to, that case took some crazy twists and turns over the years. And I'm working on doing something with that case because I just think it should be talked about again because it's just, we'll see. And of course, we still have more of the June 2021 phone calls to get through, and we still have video visits to get through while we wait for the new set of calls. So we have, Eaton Pat's just that case just breaks my heart. They're all of them break my heart. Really, they do. I have a hard time, especially when it's kids. Kids are what really is devastating to me. But it's, even though, because the minute I started watching Eric, that is immediately where my mind went. And so, of course, I hit the Googles. And be careful if you haven't seen all 6 episodes. It's really a good show. You really should check it out. It also gives a good perspective because it does show things from the perspective of the father of his child goes missing, and the things that he does, and it sort of shakes you into reality into remembering and reminding yourself that there isn't a manual for how people behave under these kinds of circumstances. When it is your child, you don't know what. I know people, I would say I would never do this, or I would do that. And the truth of the matter is, you might think that you know, but I don't think you do until you're there. And anyway, it's actually really well done. And you should definitely check it out. But I went immediately and hit up the Googles to see if it was based on a true story, because that's what it reminded me of immediately. So I'm going to save you the trouble, because in order for me to get to that, I had to be really scroll and be careful, because there was a ton of articles that wanted to give me spoilers. And I was like, no, I just need to know. It's a simple yes or no. So anyway, it made me look back into that case, and I just wanted to cover it just as a reminder. And also, I did a Whatever Happened To episode of Pamela Smart. There's an update, and I shall be making a little video with the update from Pamela Smart. Quite interesting. So, he's got, and the thing is, Tink, my bell, Florida, first of all, it's children under 12. I think he's going to be, when they get all of this sorted out, I think that it's going to be 4 first-degree homicide charges, and I do think that Florida is going to seek the death penalty. So anyway, but that is what I wanted to tell you guys about. So be on the lookout for that. And of course, me and Allie are always thinking about, you know, the next thing we can do together and all those things. So, yeah. Aw, Tony, a member for 27 months. Tony is a day oneer, y'all. A day oneer. So I want to thank you guys all for being here. But before I close it out, just as a thank you, this is for y'all.
Gossip, blah blah.
No malicious intent or effort was towards it. No malicious.
We all do a little mad sometimes.
Yes, they did book him, but it's only on one count. So it's only for the death of John Doe. And so I think for more charges will follow. And I am also working on a little bit of the jinx. I'm trying to figure out how best to cover that, the best way to do it justice, because Robert Durst is something that someone that Dr. B and I have been intensely fascinated with for several years now. We have frequently exchanged conversations comprised of only Robert Durst gifts, because he's just so fascinating in the most icky kind of way. All right. So anyway, I want to thank you guys all for being here. I appreciate it very, very much. If you have not done so, give your girl a thumbs up. Helps keep me in the algorithm. Or hell, if you just want to give me a thumbs down because you didn't really care for the content, do that too. Either way, I appreciate you being here and taking the time to listen. And you guys have a great rest of your Tuesday night. I will be back tomorrow with something. I don't know what, but it will be something. All right. Good night, you guys. Bye.